we got Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. We got Islam Makhachev stepping up to 170 pounds for the first time. It is going to be a banger of a fight. I'm super excited. Will the weight jump be too much for Islam? Will he be able to hang against Jack Della Maddalena, the true 170 pounder? We will have to see. I'm super excited for this fight. So how we're going to do some of these breakdowns is we're going to break these guys down on the recent fights, kind of point out the pros, the cons for both, and that can help us come up with our decisions to say who we think is going to win each fight. So first up, we'll go with our boy Jack Della Maddalena. Now, with Jack Della Maddalena in his recent fights, his first fight, or his most recent fight against Belal Muhammad when he gets the belt. Now, this was an interesting fight to me. This picture is from round 4, starting a little bit later. The reason I do that, when Belal Muhammad went into this fight, he kind of broke with the media in his head and the people in his head, and people were telling him that, oh, you're a boring fighter, Belal. You're just a trained wrestler. You know, you don't make your fights entertaining. You're not a fun fighter to watch. And that kind of got in his head. You can see in this fight too, the first 3 rounds, he really doesn't wrestle all that much. You know, he wants to keep it on the feet. He almost wants to prove to himself or the crowd that, hey, I can stand and trade. I can stand and box with this guy too. You know, I'm not just a one-dimensional fighter. It really felt like all the hype and the crowd noise, not like the actual crowd, but I mean like the public online, they were all getting in his ear, and he really kind of broke under the pressure too. Not like he broke under the pressure, but in the sense of he changed his game plan up. You know, he really wanted to stand and strike more than he probably should have, especially against a guy like Jack Della Maddalena. It's not to say that Belal Muhammad can't strike. It's just against a guy like JDM, that's just such a terrible game plan to have going into this fight. So these first 3 rounds were predominantly striking. Jack Della Maddalena looked great. He won the first couple rounds. Then Belal Muhammad really started to ramp it up in the 4th and the 5th round. This is when he actually got into his game plan. This is when he really fought the way he should have fought the entire time. It is what it is, though. But anyway, this is why I start here at the 4th round. This, you can see Belal Muhammad really starts to have some grappling success with the wrestling early, or later on into this fight. Round 4 is really when he starts to take over, and he was dominant all throughout the round against JDM. You can see in this 4th round, even with a minute left, you know, Belal Muhammad, good cardio. He's landed a nice, or this is, I believe he didn't actually get this one. He got really deep into this takedown, I believe, yeah, but you can see just a bit of JDM's really good takedown defense. You can see even in the last minute of the 4th round of this fight, you know, both these guys got to be tired. You can see Belal Muhammad got pretty far deep into this takedown. Still couldn't get it, though. You know, JDM was able to sprawl pretty well. And we know about this. You know, it just goes to show JDM does have the cardio to hang. He can go all 5 rounds, rather. So I'm not too worried about him in the sense of the cardio. But I will say, though, Belal really did start to ramp up the wrestling and the grappling later on, the rounds 4 and 5. You can see this was the end of the 4th round, about 40 seconds left. Belal was hugging him against the cage. Now, 5th round starts. He starts to really kind of walk JDM down a little bit. It was kind of funny into the 5th round. You could see JDM is slowing down a little bit. But at this point, I don't really blame him all that much. He was ahead in this fight at this point. So you could, it would make sense why he was taking a bit off of the gas tank. But anyway, in the 5th round, we could see Belal Muhammad really started to have quite a bit of success against JDM in the grappling. He got these takedowns a lot easier. You know, JDM's cardio really started to slow down quite a bit. The takedown defense was not quite the same. And in this round, Belal Muhammad was dominating in the grappling, in the wrestling later on as this fight started to continue. In the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, Belal Muhammad really only started to wrestle heavy in the 4th and 5th rounds of this fight. Who's to say Islam Makhachev's not going to do the same thing? Or we'll talk about this one in a second. But who's to say Islam Makhachev's not going to do the exact same thing? You know, Islam Makhachev is not a guy who's going to try to appease the fans. He's a guy who's going to try to win by any means necessary. And you can see Muhammad's last 5 takedown attempts. He attempted one in the 2nd round in minute 21. After that, he waited until the 4th round. It just goes to show he wasn't really fighting a good game plan until the 4th and the 5th rounds, and that's when he won those rounds. So if Belal Muhammad would have fought a smarter game plan earlier, who knows? He might have won this fight if he just had a better game plan, because he obviously had a ton of success in the 4th and the 5th round. This fight was just a bit of a tricky one. People look at who won and who lost and just kind of write it off at that, but Belal Muhammad really, he let people get in his head. He didn't fight the way he should have, and as a result, he lost the fight. But anyway, we can look up JDM's next fight. Gilbert Burns. And not all these, they're not going to go in order. I kind of jump around in some of these, so some of them will be in order, some of them won't. But anyway, next up, we got against Gilbert Burns. Now, Gilbert Burns also had some success in the grappling. We could see in 3:58 in the 1st round, Gilbert Burns has already gotten to Jack Della Maddalena's back. Not a good look as this fight progresses. 3:41 in the 1st round. He's holding him against the cage. He's having success in the wrestling and the grappling. Lands a takedown 10 seconds left in the 1st round. Gilbert Burns was having quite a bit of success in the grappling against Jack Della Maddalena because he wasn't fighting a Belal Muhammad game plan of coming out early and striking. No, Gilbert Burns stuck to the smart game plan and he was grappling the whole time. Had a ton of success in round 1. on the scorecards. He takes the first round, wins the first round. JDM loses the first round. Second round comes around, bit of the same thing. You can see 3:42 on the scorecard on the clock. You can see Gilbert Burns back to the ground, wrestling again, beating JDM on the ground yet again. Only a minute into the second round. You can see it basically goes throughout the whole round. I mean, there are moments where Della Maddalena can get back out and it gets a bit scrappy, but Gilbert Burns is having success throughout the first 10 minutes pretty clearly in the grappling. He wins the first 2 rounds on the scorecards. Now, this is the very end of the second round as well. 21 seconds left on the clock. Backpacking JDM on the ground. Not a good look. This is the third round comes around. Gilbert Burns is having even more success. He's doing the same thing over and over and over, and JDM really doesn't have a good answer to it. He has no real solution to this problem. Now he gets to just about halfway through this third round, we can see Gilbert Burns on his back, backpacking, dominating in the grappling. You can see he's having success. Halfway through, there's less than 2 minutes left. JDM is losing this fight. He's losing this entire fight. He's losing. Gets towards the end. You can even see, I had the scorecards in here. JDM would have lost this fight if it went to the scorecards. He would have lost to Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns would have beaten him. I feel like people forget about that. Like it didn't happen. It did happen. I mean, he got saved. Yes, he got that. He got the last second knockout. He would have lost that fight, though. He got very lucky that he got that last second knockout. Otherwise, his record would be quite different. But anyway, against Kevin Holland. Now, this is just a back and forth striking match. He won a split decision. However, you can see from the record, he got outstruck by Kevin Holland. Not the best look either, I will say. Then after that, we have Basil Hafez. Basil Hafez, not even 5 seconds into the damn fight, he's shooting a takedown. Gets a takedown. I mean, his grappling, he had a ton of success in the grappling early on, as you can see, right to the back. 1 minute into the first round. Not a good look. Throughout this fight, having success in the grappling. More success. I mean, he is getting dominated by Basil Hafez in the grappling. Not a good look. Next round starts. Getting dominated again. Now, this is where Basil Hafez, his cardio is just completely dust. Now, JDM does have some good moments where he is able to reverse positions a bit. He does have some moments of success. There was one moment that was pretty dumb here. He ends up shooting a guillotine, I believe. He jumps a ghillie, and he ends up getting reversed, I believe. Yep, so now through poor grappling, through poor fight IQ, through poor decision making, he lets Basil Hafez basically back into this round, lets him to get on top of him, and from there, he's basically screwed. I mean, he lets Basil Hafez just rest on top of him for the whole damn round, ends the round in the exact same position. He's not looking good throughout these first 2 rounds. Now, Basil Hafez completely death gas. Third round comes around. Now, he tries to get the single leg takedown on JDM. I believe he ends up getting reversed in this position because this is a little bit further down. Yeah, 4 minutes in the third round versus a minute and 30 seconds left in the third round. So, JDM does have some success on the grappling here, as you can see, but this one, Basil Hafez is really just completely toast. He's burnt. He has nothing left. So, this was a very tricky fight. I mean, you can see minute 17 left. He has some success. He's on his back, but then he gets reversed. Minute left in the fight. Basil Hafez somehow gets back on top. Just not a good look. We've seen throughout JDM's recent fights, the grappling has not been great. It's not been great. The one time people give him more credit for that Belal Muhammad fight when Belal really wasn't doing all that much in the first 3 rounds. But anyway, next up we got Islam Makhachev. Now, Islam Makhachev versus Renato Moicano. We all know how this one went. I just put this in here. I thought it was interesting. Renato Moicano 7-1 as an underdog in the UFC. Pretty crazy. Obviously now he lost that one too. But anyway, he did have success against Islam. We could see Islam got cracked early on in this fight. So goes to show. Who knows? JDM could crack him as well. We've seen Islam hurt multiple times throughout his fights. Makes sense. But this one really did surprise me. I remember watching this one live. I was like, oh shit, he got cracked. Now, he ended up getting back. Islam was able to survive through the grappling, looked fine, ended up dominating, got Moicano out of there. Now, Moicano was a short notice step up. I don't really put a whole lot of weight on this one, so I can't really put a whole lot on it. But I will say, the thing that was very interesting is that throughout this point, right, at this moment in the fight, Moicano was able to actually kick Islam Makhachev off of him, and it was pretty interesting. Moicano was trying to get back to his feet, and he kicks him out. You can see on the clock, 1 minute and 5 seconds in the first round. Next slide, 1 minute and 4 seconds. By the time he kicks him off, 1 second pass, Islam pounces right on Moicano. I mean, the way that this man moves is so damn fast on the ground. Literally, this is a 1 second break. Another second break. I mean, from 105 of being kicked off by Moicano to 103, he's on the neck. This man is a demon on the ground. He is insanely fast. And Moicano's a high-level grappler. It's not like Moicano's just some bum who doesn't know how to grapple. No, Moicano's a very good grappler. That's all it took. By this point, he's tapping. I mean, literally within 10 seconds, From here, where he's getting kicked off, to him tapping is less than 10 seconds. Crazy work, just to go show how dangerous Makhachev is on the ground. And I think if JDM makes one small mistake, that could be all that she wrote in terms of this fight. But anyway, next up, we got Dustin Poirier. We know how this one went. Back and forth. Islam was able to have a lot of success against the cage early on, landing takedowns at will, controlling Dustin, getting and backpacking him in the first round. Absolutely insane. Second round starts. Islam, boom, shooting takedowns off the bat. I mean, he was going for him. Dustin was able to get out of this one. You can see, too, Islam's not afraid to shoot from range. I mean, this was the most telegraphed takedown attempt I've ever seen in my life. 3 minutes 44 on the clock in the second round, but he's able to get onto a leg. I don't know why I put this in here. Able to get onto a leg, 343. What was I thinking? What did I want to put in here? What did I say for Islam? Oh yeah, this is what I want to say too. He actually outstruck Poirier in this round, 26-24 in significant strikes. I didn't have the label on here. I don't know why I didn't show the label on here. I must not have been thinking, but you can see the 24 out of 46, 24 out of 58. That's for significant strikes. I believe that's what I wanted to say in here about this second round, which goes to show, Islam Makhachev isn't like a fish out of water on the feet in the striking. Yeah, JDM might be the better striker, but we can see he outstruck Dustin Poirier in the second round. Goes to show. The man can strike too. Don't underestimate it. But anyway, next up in the second round, end of it, ends on top. Third round comes around. Excuse me. Islam's back on top. He's back dominated. I mean, he just cannot get this guy off. Dustin couldn't get this guy off of him. Halfway through the third round, or not quite, 3:28 in the third round, completely backpacking Dustin. Dustin Poirier is elite, and he was just getting absolutely worked in the grappling. He had no real solution. Even when Islam can't land takedowns, he's comfortable just holding you against the cage, working you throughout the whole 5 rounds. He doesn't stop. He doesn't slow down hardly at all. Dustin was able to have some success in the exchanges. He was having some scrambling success throughout the 4th round, but it just goes on. Now, this was a good moment I wanted to say for JDM fans, if you really like him. Now, against the clinch, I could see JDM having some success landing some big body shots. Dustin Poirier was able to do the exact same against Islam. Big body shots in the clinch that really did hurt Islam. I could see JDM doing this exact same thing here. That's something I wanted to point out. Dustin did have some success, but it just didn't last for very long. It was just a matter of seconds. He gets reversed. Islam's back, controlling him against the cage like it was nothing. I had the screenshot in here. You can see it's so funny. Dustin's looking back and actually talking to the commentators. You can see John Anik and Joe Rogan. Oh my goodness. He's literally talking to them throughout the middle of this fight. If you guys never noticed that or never realized that, this is where that's from. Pretty dope. Cool moment, but yeah, just goes to show Islam still controlling him against the cage though. 5th round starts, more of the same. All it takes is Dustin Poirier to mess up for 1 second. He makes one mistake, boom. Comes right in. Islam Makhachev, I believe he wrapped up a Darce here, and he gets him out of there extremely quick. That's all it took. But next up, we got Islam versus Alexander Volkanovski. Second one, the head kick. We're not really going to go over that. The first fight, though, this was a bit more interesting. This is, I think, if people are taking JDM this week, this is where you could argue a bit more for JDM. Now, you could see in this grappling, it was back and forth. There were a lot of moments where Volk had success and Makhachev had success. Like, it was back and forth, especially in the clinch. They were both working each other. We could see throughout the second round. I mean, Volk was able to have some good reversals. Now, Volk was able to land some of the cage control of his own in terms of the clinch, holding Islam against the cage. Volk is a smaller guy, too. We'll talk about this more at the end. But Volk was having some success. He even hurt him in the 3rd round. I mean, he had Islam running, and that's Volk, too. Volk was stepping up a weight class for this fight. So it just goes to show Islam's not unbeatable. It's not like you can't hurt the guy. He has vulnerabilities just like anyone else. He's human, and Volk was able to exploit those. It's just in the grappling, this man is different. 4th round comes around. Makhachev backpacking like it's nothing. He was having a ton of success in the grappling, and Volk is an extremely high-level grappler. I mean, Volk's high-level everywhere, but it just goes to show if Makhachev's able to dominate him, I believe he should be able to dominate JDM too. Now, the weight discrepancy, we're going to talk about this some more, but yeah, I get why people are saying the weight difference is quite huge in terms of these examples. You got JDM on one side, you got Volk on the other. I totally get it, but still, 4th round, Makhachev dominates in the grappling. He just doesn't slow down. He can push the grappling pace for all 5 rounds, and we've seen JDM struggle later in the rounds with the grappling. I think Makhachev can likely do the same. Now, 5th round comes around. Volk hurts Islam. We've seen Islam hurt multiple times in his fights. It happens, and it's a real possibility. And I'm not saying JDM can't hurt him, because he definitely could. And at that point, he could secure the round on the scorecards if he rocks Islam. Definitely could happen. Volk had this big moment, knocks him down. As you can see, this is where I wanted to talk about it, though. So, yeah, that was the last slide for this one. The size difference is crazy, though. Volk had a ton of success, and he had a lot of success. It was closer than people thought it was, and you can see the weight size difference, though. Volk is not a natural lightweight. He's a natural featherweight that's stepping up, and you can see that's a lot different. You know, Islam's fighting where he should be in this fight. He was fighting that lightweight. Now him stepping up to welterweight is going to be a real difference. You know, if the weight level between these two was a lot more similar, and like more natural, rather, this fight could have played out a lot differently. So it's just something I had to point out, is like the size difference between these two, pretty substantial. And it did stand out to me in the sense of it's not going to be the same way against JDM. That's for damn sure. But anyway, that does it for this one. Now, in terms of the fight recap, in terms of where I'm standing at between these two, though, I am leaning towards Islam Makhachev. I just think there's been too many signs that we've seen from JDM where he's really struggled with the grappling and he hasn't been able to have a ton of success. Yes, I know he's training with guys like Craig Jones now and he's getting a lot of high-level grappling in, and his grappling has improved quite a bit in recent years. You know, it's definitely gone a hell of a lot. It's gone a hell of a lot better in recent years compared to earlier in his career. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to beat a guy like Islam Makhachev. I get the whole concern of Islam stepping up, going up a weight class. That is a very valid concern, and we'll have to see how he looks in terms of the scales and how he weighs in. I'm just leaning Islam. I think he should be able to control it on the ground. I think his striking's got a lot better as well. You know, it's like JDM's improved his grappling. Islam's also improved his striking throughout the year. So I think this is going to be a very competitive match. I just think Islam's probably going to be able to get it done on scorecards. I think the grappling's going to be too much for JDM. And unless JDM can hurt Islam, that's a real possibility. We'll have to see how Islam can deal with the 170-pound weight class. I mean, it's going to be, there's some unknowns in this spot. I just think JDM is a bit overrated. I'm not going to lie. I feel like him getting getting to the belt is not saying it's luck or a coincidence. I just think he had a more favorable path to the belt than a guy like Islam Makhachev, who's just smoking the best of the best. I mean, Oliveira. I mean, we've seen him beat Volk. We've seen him beat Poirier. I mean, he's beating everyone, and no one's really giving him any problems. So it just goes to show how dominant he is. And you look at JDM as his best wins. Bilal really wasn't even implementing a good game plan until the 4th and the 5th rounds. He's going to split decisions with guys like Basel Hafez. And even Gilbert Burns was whooping his ass on the ground in the grappling until he got that late finish. He got lucky. If he can't do that against a guy like Islam Makhachev, which I'm not entirely sure that he can, I don't see him winning the fight. So I think this line is pretty fair, honestly. I think Islam Makhachev should be the favorite, and I think he likely wins this fight. However, JDM could hurt Islam. We've seen Islam knocked out before. We've seen him cracked before. A real 170 guy going against Islam who's been fighting weight class lower his entire life. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out, but I gotta lean Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev's got to be the pick. I think he gets it done. I think it's going to be an interesting one. The last thing I want to say about this too. I saw this interesting post from Home of Fight on Instagram. I wanted to put it in here for you guys. They were saying there has never been a lightweight champion who moved up to welterweight division and won a title there. With Islam moving up to 170 pounds, it's worth revealing how other lightweight champions performed in the division. Read this if you want. But it's pretty interesting that no one's ever actually been the lightweight champion, moved up to welterweight, and actually won the title. It has never happened before. You can look at guys like RDA, McGregor, Pettis, Benson Henderson, BJ Penn. You can see it just never happened like this. I believe who was the... BJ Penn was actually a champion at 170 pounds, however, at 170 pounds. However, he won the welterweight belt before claiming the lightweight one, though he moved up from 155. So it's kind of like, that's the only little exception there. But very interesting that this never happened before. So statistically, is Islam that guy to break the barrier and push the levels of the sport? Who knows? I think he definitely could be. So the pick's got to be Islam Makhachev, but I think it's going to be a very close fight. It's going to be very competitive. And I think either guy can win this, but yeah, I just think Islam ever so slightly should get the job done.